Hi, we're here at the house of Jean Morgan in Louisville, and she has been gardening with native plants and for butterflies and for birds for many, many years, and we're encouraging people to take up this kind of work in their own yards. Jean, what do you have to tell us?
Well, I live over here on Spruce Street, Miners Field neighborhood, and I started this garden maybe 25, 30 years ago, I'm not sure. It was just nothing. And my neighbor across the street here gave me a bunch of hens and chicks. And we took them because we didn't have any money and put them in. That's why you see a lot of hens and chicks in my yard. But as I filled the garden with non-natives and the natives became more available, I would pull out the non-natives and put in natives for pollinators and birds and butterflies. And I've gotten several different awards from like Audubon Society and the NABA, the North American Butterfly Association, for being one of their gardens. So as you come in my garden, I'm saying I'm mostly a xeric native garden, but there are still some non-natives. This is where we start my tours, and I never get down here to water unless I have a brand new plant that I put in. I have this red yucca for the hummingbirds. This is cliff rose, which is a native. I have a native, forgot. That's why I have my little list right here. Potentilla. And,
Jean's got so many plants here that she can't remember all of them. She's got hundreds.
I have a little chart. I have a little map. And then what a lot of people like are these pieces of wood that I've collected and just put down and make it look a little more natural. Another thing I like to do is to make different heights in the garden, which you'll see as we go towards the east. This is a peace rose, which my neighbor Gracie Shively gave me, the hens and chicks lady, which when people give me plants, I love it because it reminds me of them. This is a Mojave sage, which just smells absolutely gorgeous, and it is a native. But this right here is like the butterfly bar in the fall. It's rabbit brush, standard rabbit brush, a native here. There's a bee on it right now looking for something. But that's like a butterfly bar, so you must have that one in your native garden. And then I have collected a few bulbs through the year just to give an early spring look. This little garden is right by my front door, and it has a GM trifolium or prairie smoke, which gets a real puffball seed head, and it's very beautiful. It stays green all winter, and then interspersed here is pussy toes, which is kind of a grayish color, and of course the omnipresent hens and chicks. And then just in front of that, towards the street here, there are a couple of very nice plants. One is a dwarf rabbit brush, and I have a fantastic plant right here called Princess Plume, and it gets about this high. It's a native. It's blowout gorgeous, so you need to come by and see that. This is over by my driveway, and I would like to introduce you to Barney Bazooka de Chomp III. Hippos are absolutely my all-time favorite, and when my neighbor had this little tub, to me it looked just like a hippo body, and she gave it to me. Then my friend John and I, who helped me build the pond, which you'll see in a moment, made the head out of stuff that we had in our backyards. And I challenge people to guess what the different parts are. And of course, they always get the shovels, they get the doorknobs, they get the water opener, the twisters, but the ears are very difficult for people because it's real old. And I give them the hint that you need this when you go up on your roof. So sometimes people get it, most of the times not. It's off an old ladder that when you extend it, it clicks up. So his name is Barney Bazooka because his mouth is like bazooka bubblegum, and to chomp is obvious, and he is the third. Now we're in my backyard coming through the gate, and I'd like to kind of talk about the layout here. I just put the walkways where I walked, and that's what I tell people, that's how you should lay your backyards out. There's not much out here now, but soon I've got 2 butterfly bushes which attract the butterflies. I have prairie coneflower over here. I have liatris. Both are natives. The butterfly bush is not, but it does attract the butterflies. On this side I have, later on is the black-eyed Susans and some native columbines. This area in here has a prairie petunia, which I've never seen in anybody else's yard, but it's a native here in Colorado. This is right off of my porch, which I really enjoy, sitting on my back porch and listening to the water. A lot of times the birds will come in and take a little bath in the on the rocks there, and we built this to kind of hold the water so that the birds could take a little bath. Then I have a lot of garter snakes, and I have a little water pond for them that's real shallow. Bubbles is in the water here, and her baby is up just to the right on one of the rocks, and that's Squeak. Bubbles and Squeak. Over here behind this wood is a bush morning glory, which is glorious, and the ground cover here is pussy toes. One hint for you, if you use that for a ground cover, which is never watered, I always cut off all the blossoms, because if I didn't one year and it just kind of ate up the plant. So I want the ground cover more than I want the blossoms. Also over to the right in the pussy toes is now blooming the Easter daisy. Okay, this is again in the backyard, just west of my garage. You can't see it, but there's a little penstemon garden here. This is my vegetable garden, which feeds me everything I need during the summer. And then along this white fence here is my Agastaki garden and my red fairy trumpet, which really attracts the hummingbirds. That's like a guarantee. So that's along the fence, and then I have my strawberry bed, which I have wires on top to keep the squirrels out. And in this garden right behind me is more coneflowers. This is in my backyard by my pond. It's again another elevated little garden with some different hens and chicks in it. The wheelbarrow, Chuck Wanaka gave me wheelbarrow, the chicken waterer, he gave me chicken feeders, and he also gave me an old bathtub from the Wanaka farm. So I've got a lot of Lafayette connection here in this garden. Thank you. This is on the west side of my house, and it never gets watered. Unless there's a new plant, I'll water it for 1 year. I did just recently put in a datura so that when I get tomato worms on my tomatoes, I can bring it out here to eat the leaves off of this datura and still have my tomato plants. Because you know, tomato worms do become sphinx moths, which we need for evening pollinators. This is another amorpha right here. I have all 3 of them. Down the line here, I have Ceanothus fendleri, a little shrub that's in the foothills. And then in this area is also Mexican hat and Helianthus cumulus, Hymenopsis, and Cowboy's Delight. All right, that's the tour of around my house. Thank you very much.